It's 1 o'clock, so I think we'll get started here. Just get a quick thumbs up for my two co-hosts. Are you both ready to go? All right. Excuse me. Good afternoon. It is Friday, December 13th. Ooh, Friday the 13th. But this session, I promise, will not be scary at all. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jeff Brunner, and I'm the Cooperative Purchasing Service Manager here at WiLS. And I'm joined today by two of my colleagues on the cooperative purchasing team, Lisa Marten and Nick Smith. Today, we are going to talk about some of the many, what we call the quiet benefits of cooperative purchasing participation. Most kind of WiLS cooperative purchasing members or participants are aware of our negotiated discounts on e-resource subscriptions. That's what you know the service best for. But there are a host of other things that we offer as part of cooperative purchasing. So today, we'd like to highlight some of those so that you can take advantage of them. Okay, so in addition to the subscriptions and purchases that you can make through WiLS, where the vendor will invoice us and we'll invoice you, and then the payment flows through WiLS as well. We also have a large and growing number of vendor partners that we call Order Direct. So Order Direct vendors are partnered with WiLS to offer our cooperative participants a discounted pricing on items purchased directly from them. So sometimes these are e-resources, but a lot of the Order Direct vendors deal in physical items like books and furniture. So when working with these vendors, you'd order the product, you'd order the product and pay the vendor directly. The transaction does not flow through WiLS at all. And each vendor handles that slightly differently. So you may need a discount code for online purchases, or perhaps you'll need to work with the vendor rep one-on-one to figure out what you need and to get the right product for you. But whatever the case, you should be sure to identify yourself as a WiLS cooperative purchasing participant so that you can get the benefits, discounted pricing, or whatever other benefits that might come from that vendor. We are working to add more direct vendors to our list. So please let us know if you have a suggestion for vendors or even categories of products that you'd like to be able to get at a WiLS discount. I'd also like to mention that WiLS has partnerships with CISA Purchasing here in Wisconsin and Minitex over in Minnesota. And those kind of partnerships give our participants access to some of their deals as well. So I'll go ahead and put some informational links about those two partnerships into the chat. And we'll also make sure to include them in whatever email, if we send an email after the fact to participants, so that you can access those as well. In addition to negotiating for the best prices possible on our subscription offerings, we also look closely at the contracts and licenses governing the use of those products. So one of the benefits that we offer to our vendors is the ability to negotiate directly with us on a license that will cover all of our participants, rather than hashing that out, kind of a separate agreement with each library or each participant. But this license agreement review and negotiation is a benefit to the members as well, because it can save you some time and possibly money. And you can also just sort of leverage the expertise that we've built up in looking at these kinds of contracts. WiLS has a kind of model license rubric that we use to really closely examine licenses that we may become party to make sure that they check as many boxes as possible. So we've got a whole list of things that we look for in a license, and we will negotiate terms with vendors if they don't really kind of meet those. So that's something that we do just as a matter of course, but you may not be aware of it. So that's why we wanted to include it today. All right. So I think that actually is going to bring me to the first of my co-hosts. It's time to introduce Nick Smith, also from WiLS, and he's going to talk a little bit about annual increases. Over to you, Nick.
Hello. So as Jeff mentioned, we have a number of like behind the scenes things that go on, and another one of those is relates to the discounts that you are all probably familiar with. If you have a resource that perhaps you can't run your library without, then discounts are great, but over time, the annual price increases from vendors will try to creep up your price as much as they can. Um, we see from vendor partners and hear from members about annual increases as high as even 10 or 15% on the upper side, which is unsustainable for most libraries. That's why we employ, when we request new renewal pricing, a 4% threshold of annual increases. If our vendor partners send prices higher than that, then we will automatically negotiate them down. And if they don't budge, then we remind them that since the increase is over 4%, we will let our members know that they refused to bring the price down despite our attempts at negotiations. Sadly, there are some increases that are unavoidable and non-negotiable, which are usually due to product upgrades. And when those happen, we do our utmost to make sure that we get that info to you as soon as we learn about it, either through an email or we put a note into your MyWills for you to see it. Beyond negotiating increases down, though, one of the benefits of the purchasing power that we employ from our over 450 participating institutions is that we have agreements that are standing with many of our vendor partners to give co-op participants lower annual increases than they even would get if they purchased directly from a vendor. That's why even if we can't offer a massive discount on a product, it can still be worthwhile to purchase through WiLS to get access to those annual savings. For example, here I ran some math yesterday, and if a vendor has a very high annual increase of like 10% if you purchase directly, but if it's low as 3% if you purchase through WiLS, over 2 renewals, you'll save around $15. But over time, if you stick with that subscription for 10 years even, you'll have saved over 80% compared to that 10% annual increase. And that's without any WiLS discount in the beginning. So if the base price and the WiLS price were exactly the same, you'd still be saving money over time by ordering through WiLS. Even more, if you were to drop one of those subscriptions for a year or two and then pick it up, usually because of budget issues, the vendor would likely charge you the current base price minus the WiLS discount, rather than honoring the legacy price that you had been paying due to your reduced annual increases. So sometimes, even in the budget climate as volatile as this one, it's important to consider all the avenues to cut the costs. And if you're getting really good reduced increases, that might the ways to cut costs might include keeping an important database through tough times rather than cutting it and picking it up later. And apologies for any gaps. My cat is being really, really friendly right now. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about subscription alignment, which is one way that we help not saving money, but saving you time. So if you hate to keep track of all the seemingly random dates that all your e-resource subscriptions renew on, or if you're annoyed by all the reminder emails that we send seemingly all year, we can help with that, I promise. With just one email to us asking to align your subscriptions, we can work with our vendor partners to prorate all of your e-resource subscriptions to align to a single renewal date. So you get them all done at once and rest easy the other 11 months of the year. This will help you cut down on the time you spend thinking about renewals, the time you spend emailing back and forth, the chance of forgetting about a renewal and then scrambling to get it taken care of. And we can even help prevent your patrons losing access if a renewal was forgotten about. It helps by putting all these resources on the same schedule to simplify your budget planning so that everything happens at once. Makes it easier to get a single PO from your institution and a single invoice from us, which reduces your admin time so you aren't drowning in paperwork all the time. And even if you start a new product, you can do that at any time, and then we'll just prorate it to your standard renewal date to prevent you from going back to the times where everything was scattered around the year. One of our members who uses this to great effect is the South Central Library System. WiLS handles all the e-resources subscriptions for all of SCLS's 54 member libraries from start to finish. And every e-resource for the entire system renews on January 1st every year. That means that each year we have a streamlined quote and renewal process, so each library knows exactly what they need to do and when, making budget easier and keeping everything running smoothly for all the libraries. The one caveat to this is that WiLS runs a number of group subscriptions through vendors like Botanica, SpringShare, or ABC Clio to get even better discounts. But these group purchases are tied to fixed dates that cannot be changed due to the contract of the purchase. However, as Lisa will tell you about next, there are some invoicing tricks that we can use to help keep things simple to you.
Thanks, Nick. So one really cool thing about WiLS is we are completely flexible on how we invoice. Our customizable invoicing abilities help you pay when and how you need. And you just choose what subscriptions are invoiced together, or even all of them at once, when you want to receive them, and to whom they should be sent. So if your institution uses purchase orders, we encourage sending one purchase order for all of your subscriptions that you would like to be invoiced together. One purchase order and one invoice for all of your subscriptions drastically reduces the time or the number of emails and invoices and checks by a lot, and it saves everyone a lot of time. However, we also understand that some institutions need their invoices separate or split in a certain way. We have a number of school districts that require separate invoices for each building, and some of our academic libraries prefer to receive one invoice for all subscriptions by each vendor. So all ProQuest on one, all Gale on another. We're really flexible in how we invoice, and we can customize each invoice to meet your specific needs. And those specific needs or preferences can be emailed to us, but they can also be updated within your WiLS portal in the account section under invoicing preferences, and that will apply to all invoices unless specified otherwise. Our independence and flexibility makes it easy for us to get you the resources that you need now, but handle the money when you are able. You can do things like hold off on invoicing until the turn of a fiscal year, or invoice you upfront for a renewal yet to come up. And I know what you're thinking, like, I don't want an invoice for my July, or if I don't want an invoice for my July subscription until September, won't I risk losing access? But no, you won't, because one of the cool things about ordering through WiLS is that we will pay our vendor partners as soon as they invoice us. And that will get your subscription active right away, or it keeps it going. And then WiLS can invoice you on a timetable that works best for your fiscal year and business practices. Which kind of leads us to deposit accounts. So you can encumber and secure funds ahead of time, use them when needed, and streamline your payment processes. You send us funds at convenient times during the year, and then you don't have to worry about paying invoices individually. This is great if you have renewals throughout the year that you would like to pay for in advance, even if we don't have the final pricing yet. So we can provide you with pricing estimates at the beginning of the year and send you a replenishment invoice that covers the estimated amount for one, multiple, or all of your subscriptions. Once pricing is actually available within WiLS, you would just choose deduct from deposit account, and then those funds will be deducted at the time of invoicing. You won't actually see the invoice, but you will receive a monthly statement that shows the current fiscal year to date transactions. And then we'll work with you if the estimate ends up being over or underpriced. So with bill pay services, you can simplify and reduce the number of invoices you pay. You would just simply forward us your bill from any vendor, even if they aren't a WiLS partner. We'll pay them within 30 days, and you pay us when it works best for you. And just to note on this service, we do not manage the subscription or renewal cycle for things sent to us through bill pay. It's up to you to work with the vendor to renew each year and then send us the invoice. And we are able to provide this service because of the credit card rebates we receive. So we do try to work with vendors that accept credit card payments. We have a few co-op participants who utilize this service, and one that really sticks out is for a vendor or product that invoices weekly and kind of small. amounts. So while the library would receive 4 to 5 small invoices a month, if they were to pay direct, we only send them one invoice for those 4 or 5 products. And because of our flexibility, we are able to offer this service for a variety of vendors that may be difficult to work with otherwise. For instance, we have an international vendor that can be pretty difficult to pay. And so the school sends us the invoice each year, and then we reach out to the vendor to pay. So we put in that work on behalf of the school. So the school just pays us. And that's a great bonus too, is that we are already an established vendor in your accounting system. So by sending WiLS the invoice, you don't have to spend time or energy to follow up on any extra paperwork to set up a new vendor. And as a reminder, we only accept checks and ACH payments, and we encourage you to set us up as an ACH vendor in your system for quicker, more convenient service. And just shoot us an email at financials@wils.org to get that set up. I'm going to hand it back over to Nick to talk a little bit about the co-op's website.
Thank you. So switching gears a little bit, we have a wonderful, wonderful website that got a big update a few years ago. And one of those updates, I'm tossing a link in chat for you, is our vendor and product catalogs. So even though these are some of the most visited pages on the WiLS website, with altogether over like 10% of all the views are just these catalog pages, we still want to highlight just how helpful they can be. We work with over 100 vendors who have well over 600 products between them all. And so we are very familiar with how overwhelming it can be to figure this out, organize your databases, identify gaps in resources, and then fill them. And these catalogs are just one way that we help out with that. Our vendor catalog lists every vendor we work with, including order through WiLS vendors and order direct vendors. For vendors where you order databases through us, we list all the products available through them to make it easy for you to see their selection and understand what kind of vendor they are. For order direct vendors, we include directions on ordering products, which usually includes a contact email or a bid code that you can enter on checkout to access the WiLS discount. If you're ever unsure of how something works there, please don't hesitate to email us and we can clarify anything for you. If there is a vendor that you wish we work with, but you don't see it in the catalog, just drop us a line and we'll look into them, because we are always on the hunt for more vendor partners to make your e-resource like acquisition easier. On the product catalog side, we have an inexhaustive list of all the resources our vendor partners offer. We do our utmost to keep it updated, but there are always new things coming on the horizon that can fall through the cracks. So if there's something you'd like to order through one of our vendors, but don't see it listed on there, just let us know via email or through our quote request form, and we will get working on that immediately so that we can hopefully get you the resource that you're interested in. For each catalog, though, there are a number of filters you can use to help you discover new vendors and new resources, from library type to vendor to subject to resource type. We really make it easy to reduce the overwhelming feeling of searching for resources and figuring out what you have and what you need. Now I'll hand it off here to Lisa to talk some about MyWiLS, where we try to make it easy to maintain your current subscriptions and your quotes.
Thank you. So most of you are likely familiar with MyWiLS already. It's how you can submit your order, renewal preferences, see which invoices are still open, and you can see your order history. MyWiLS has been around for about 10 years now, which is crazy to think about. But we are constantly thinking of ways to improve or enhance your experience within MyWiLS. So this spring, we will be rolling out some updates that I think a lot of you will love. So soon you'll be able to see a list of vendors and products, the bid codes, discount codes, and license agreements all within the MyWiLS portal. You also will be able to select multiple pronouns for each contact, and you will be able to update your monthly statement preferences within MyWiLS. And then there's also going to be an autofill feature that will input your name and email automatically when you submit an order and renewal to cut down on that time that it takes to, it's just tedious, but so we're going to do that autofill feature, and I'm excited about that. So those are just a few of the awesome updates that we are excited to provide to improve your MyWills experience. And we greatly appreciate feedback at any time. And we take that feedback into consideration when we decide which enhancements to roll out each year.
Okay. I mean, that was quick, but we wanted to cover a lot of things and we are able to do so rapidly. So my question for you is, do you have any questions? We hope that you learned a little bit something about the many extra benefits of participating in WiLS Cooperative Purchasing Service. But if anyone on the call live has any questions, we'd be happy to take those now. You can unmute yourself or put something into the chat box. And now I'm going to awkwardly sit here quietly and leave space for people to ask if they have any.
Hi, Jeff. This is Julia up
Hi,
in
Julia.
Ashland. And I'm wondering what, when you guys are looking at databases, do you look at accessibility issues? Because I know coming down the pike in 2026, I think, from the federal government there's, at least in higher education, there's going to be a lot of accessibility requirements on websites and third-party products, including databases.
That's really a great question, Julia. We don't have a formal accessibility like pass that we do looking at resources when we're first evaluating them, but we do generally, and I want to say that we can get their kind of accessibility assessment document, which I can't remember what that's called now. That's maybe, which I don't know what that stands for, but VATS, I think, at least in the not too distant past, was sort of the standard disclosure document from vendors about the kind of accessibility standards that they meet in their products. But we do know that that's an important kind of evaluation point when you're looking at a resource and thinking about adding it to your catalog or to your portfolio. So that's the kind of thing that I don't think we have the capacity to like formally evaluate, or the expertise really to formally evaluate each resource before we can offer it. But it is the kind of thing that we're happy to like work with you on, like who at the vendor or what kind of process you need to go through to look that over when talking to a vendor. And we're definitely open to feedback. If anyone has, I don't even know, like a good tool or a good methodology that we might be able to adopt or adapt for internal use here at WiLS. So my answer, I guess, is sort of like we're aware that that's an important issue, as it should be. But we're certainly not experts in evaluating those kinds of resources. And we rely a little bit, maybe more than we should, on the vendor disclosing their own process.
Thanks. And that makes perfect sense. Are those VATs or whatever they may actually be called available from WiLS, or would that be something we would just, follow up with a vendor contact?
I think it's probably something I gathered some, but that was a long time ago, and I know they can't possibly be up to date. But I think that might be a way that WiLS could help if we can come up with kind of a workable process to try and request those on some recurring basis from our vendor partners so that we've got them handy. But I can tell you that I don't have a stockpile of them now that I can share, but I'm happy to kind of investigate that as something that we might be able to do. That might be another thing that we could tack on. Lisa mentioned how many documents are going to start living in MyWills, like the licenses and stuff. That might be another thing that we could store there so that it's easy to get at once we've actually got the documents.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought too. It'd be a nice, just a tab to review. But anyway, thanks.
Thank you so much, Julie. I always appreciate hearing from you. And that's a really good suggestion, or an area that we can look at if there's a feasible way for us to kind of have that information readily available, instead of just constantly saying, "Oh, here's the vendor rep, go find it yourself." Does anyone else have other suggestions or questions? I see something in chat. I was looking at your vendors, and there is one that we were going to order through, but could we possibly talk and maybe see if WiLS could help us? Yes. That is Andrea. Andrea, I'm writing down your name. And after this session, one of the WiLS people on this call will shoot you an email or a call, and we can talk about what it is you're looking for and how we can help. Okay. Well, everybody loves to just sit and quietly wait for questions to come in. I know that you're all just loving that. So what we're going to do is kind of come to our conclusion here. I will say that if you do think of any other questions related to cooperative purchasing, library resources, or really anything else about WiLS, feel free to reach out to us. The absolute best way to reach the members of the cooperative purchasing team is via email. And that is the email address you see here on the screen. That's coop@wils.org. That is a shared inbox. There's always a member of the team looking at it. I mean, not on like Christmas Day or something, but if when WiLS is open, someone's got access to the inbox. So that's the fastest way to get our attention so that we can get back to you. I don't know. I thought there was something else I was going to say, but now I can't remember it. So we will just say again, you can never go wrong by saying thank you. So thank you again for joining us live. And thank you if you're watching the recording. And please do reach out if we can do anything for you here at WiLS Co-op. Nick or Lisa, any final thoughts?
No, you got it. You got it perfect.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great afternoon, and try not to get too scared on Friday the 13th.
Or cold with this weather.
Oh, cold. Yeah, that you may be shivering for more than one reason on Friday the 13th this year. All right. Bye, everyone.